Alright, everyone, buckle up, because King Charles is about to make history yet again, and of course, he's doing it with the usual royal baggage trailing right behind him. This time, the drama comes wrapped in robes and incense. The big headline: King Charles III will become the first British monarch since the Reformation to pray at a public service with the Pope. Yes, you heard that right. Since Henry VIII broke up with Rome, no English sovereign has ever stood beside the pontiff in prayer. That's 5 centuries of theological Cold War finally getting a little thaw. Now, before we start handing out peace prizes, let's unpack why this is such a big deal, not just for Charles personally, but for the monarchy, the Church of England, and even the royal family's shaky PR machine. Because, as always, no royal milestone arrives without at least one scandal lurking in the background. To really grasp how wild this is, let's rewind to the 1500s. Henry VIII split from the Roman Catholic Church in a spectacularly messy divorce, literally and figuratively, forming the Church of England so he could dump Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. Since then, every English monarch has been the supreme governor of the Church of England, which basically means, I'm the boss, not the Pope. So for a British king to pray with the Pope? That's symbolically seismic. It's like showing up at your ex's wedding and not only congratulating them but also saying, let's be friends again. And yet, if you know Charles, this move makes perfect sense. He's always seen himself as a bridge builder, especially between faiths. Remember, even before becoming king, he said he wanted to be defender of faith, plural, rather than just defender of the faith, which refers specifically to the Anglican Church. That subtle S caused a storm at the time, but it summed him up perfectly: the monarch who wants to modernize spiritual leadership without blowing up the crown's traditions. This Vatican visit, then, isn't just a religious courtesy. It's Charles trying to shape his reign as one of reconciliation, faith, politics, and even family fractures all getting a gentle royal nudge toward peace. Of course, timing is everything in royal optics, and this trip's timing is fascinating. It was originally planned for April, but Pope Francis's health forced a postponement. Charles and Camilla did meet the then pontiff privately, who, sadly, passed away soon after, but this rescheduled visit now carries an extra layer of symbolism. The new Pope, Leo XIV, only took the papal throne in May 2025. So this will be the royal couple's first official meeting with him, and what a way to start. For both sides, it's a diplomatic goldmine, the British crown showing humility and openness, and the Vatican showing its global reach and moral gravitas. But here's where things get messy. While Charles is preparing to kneel in St. Peter's Basilica, the tabloids are once again dominated by Prince Andrew and his never-ending saga. Because of course they are. Let's be real, the monarchy cannot catch a break when it comes to Andrew. Every time Charles tries to turn the page with a positive story, Andrew's name pops back up like an unwanted sequel. According to the latest reports, Buckingham Palace has quietly acknowledged that the allegations against Andrew should be examined in the proper and fullest ways. Translation: we're finally admitting that this isn't going away. That's as close to a royal slap on the wrist as it gets, especially coming from palace insiders. The phrasing is deliberate: they're not declaring guilt, but they're also not offering blanket protection anymore. It's the firmest hint yet that the institution is ready to distance itself, at least in image, from the Duke of York. And it's no coincidence this statement lands just as Charles prepares for his Vatican visit. On one level, it's about optics. Charles wants to be seen as a moral monarch, someone willing to face ugly truths rather than bury them. Praying with the Pope gives that narrative global stage lighting: humility, atonement, faith, forgiveness. The contrast with Andrew's sordid headlines is almost poetic. But on another level, it's strategic. The Vatican visit gives Charles a new moral framework to operate within. He's aligning his kingship not just with national duty, but with moral renewal, positioning himself as the monarch who can acknowledge sin, seek redemption, and move forward. It's clever. It's risky. And it's pure Charles. This trip also fits neatly into Charles's long-standing approach to what he calls faith diplomacy. He's never been content being a figurehead monarch, he wants to shape global conversations. His long-admired Pope Francis's environmental activism, and that shared passion for climate change and social justice has given the Vatican-Windsor relationship new depth. The two institutions, once adversaries, now overlap in missions: peace, sustainability, and moral leadership in a fractured world. For Charles, Meeting Pope Leo XIV will be a chance to reset that partnership and possibly reframe it for a new era. Leo XIV, reportedly more traditional than Francis, is expected to emphasize doctrinal purity and moral reform. That gives Charles a chance to play the moderate, the listening king who embodies compassion rather than confrontation. Imagine the optics: the Pope in his white cassock, Charles and Camilla standing humbly beside him, all joining in prayer for unity. It's PR perfection, a soft focus photo op that speaks louder than any policy speech. But behind that serene image lies a careful calculation. Charles needs moral credibility right now. And the Vatican, with all its global respect and controversy, is the perfect place to borrow some. Now, let's not forget the elephant in the room. Charles isn't just any royal pilgrim. He's the head of a church that broke away from Rome. Every step he takes inside the Vatican will be watched by theologians, traditionalists, and church historians with microscopic scrutiny. For centuries, English monarchs have maintained polite but cautious relations with the Vatican. Formal visits, yes, but never shared worship. Praying together? That's uncharted territory. Some Anglican purists might even see it as borderline sacrilege. After all, the monarch's coronation oath includes a promise to uphold the Protestant faith. That doesn't mean hostility toward Catholics, but it does mean a clear doctrinal boundary. Charles, however, thrives on blurring boundaries. It's not rebellion, it's renewal, in his eyes. He believes the monarchy's survival depends on adaptability, not rigidity. That's what makes this moment so quintessentially Charles, his doing something radical while presenting it as continuity. His saying, "This is what a modern monarch does," while also saying, "This is what a good Christian should do." And you know what? It might just work. While Charles gets most of the spotlight, Queen Camilla deserves credit here too. Her quiet presence on these trips often provides the emotional ballast Charles needs. Camilla's no theologian, but she understands the symbolism of unity and compassion, and she's perfected the art of being dignified without being distant. During such high-stakes diplomatic visits, she's the steadying hand that keeps Charles grounded. This visit, marking their first joint audience with Pope Leo XIV, gives Camilla another chance to prove her worth as consort, supportive, engaged, and unflappable. Her role might seem secondary, but make no mistake, behind every serene royal photo, there's a Camilla-level eye roll waiting for the cameras to turn away. And here's where this story transcends religion, because make no mistake, this trip is also deeply political. Britain's global reputation has taken a beating in recent years. The monarchy, once the epitome of stability, has been mired in internal feuds and tabloid scandals. A high-profile, dignified visit to the Vatican offers a reset, a reminder that the crown still carries diplomatic heft. It's not just Charles praying, it's Britain extending a hand to global moral authority. The message? We're still relevant. We're still leading with values. Of course, some critics will roll their eyes. They'll say it's all symbolism, no substance, a photo op to distract from family dysfunction and public disillusionment. But in royal terms, symbolism is substance. The monarchy doesn't legislate, it emotes. If people see Charles standing shoulder to shoulder with the Pope, humbly bowing in shared prayer, it reinforces a powerful narrative: the king as moral compass, not just constitutional ornament. Of course, not everyone at home will be thrilled about this new era of papal hugs and holy diplomacy. The more conservative corners of British society, especially die-hard Anglicans, may bristle at what feels like theological trespassing. There's also the risk of appearing out of touch. Britain is increasingly secular, even skeptical about organized religion. For many, the idea of royal prayers at the Vatican might feel like pompous nostalgia rather than progress. And then, hanging over all this, there's still that family drama. The juxtaposition is brutal. While Charles prays for peace and unity, his brother is once again the face of scandal. It's almost Shakespearean, the pious king seeking moral clarity while the wayward sibling drags the dynasty through the mud. This is where Charles's job becomes almost impossible. He's trying to be three things at once: a global statesman, engaging in interfaith dialogue; a spiritual leader, embodying moral renewal; a family patriarch, managing chaos in his own house. It's a trinity that even the Pope might struggle with. On one hand, Charles's commitment to faith, in all its forms, feels sincere. He's always been more philosophical than political, and this Vatican moment will probably be deeply meaningful to him personally. But on the other hand, he knows that faith without action won't save the monarchy. The institution needs credibility, transparency, and moral consistency. And that's where his biggest test lies. You can pray with the Pope all you want, but if your brother's scandals go unaddressed, and your son and daughter-in-law keep freelancing from California, the moral high ground gets slippery fast. Let's be honest, this trip isn't just about diplomacy. It's about legacy. Charles has always known he'd have less time on the throne than his mother did, and he's determined to make every symbolic gesture count. He doesn't just want to be remembered as the environmentally conscious king, or the man who modernized the coronation. He wants to be remembered as the monarch who healed old divides, between faiths, between nations, even between his own family members. In that sense, praying with the Pope is perfect legacy material. It's a moment historians will note, the king who closed the circle opened by Henry VIII. But if that's the headline, the footnote will inevitably be, while his own family was falling apart. Because that's the paradox of Charles's reign, global unity on one side, domestic dysfunction on the other. Still, there's something almost poetic about Charles seeking communion at a time of moral turbulence. The Vatican represents confession, forgiveness, and redemption, concepts that resonate powerfully in a royal family still grappling with its own sins and secrets. By standing before the Pope, Charles isn't just extending an olive branch to Catholicism, he's staging a quiet act of contrition for the monarchy itself. He's saying, in effect, we've made mistakes, but we're still capable of grace. And honestly, that's a message Britain might just need to hear. So here's where we land. King Charles's upcoming Vatican visit is more than a diplomatic handshake. It's a test of faith, leadership, and image all rolled into one. It's Charles at his most authentic and his most strategic, spiritual sincerity fused with political theater. It's a risky move, one that could either elevate his reign or invite new controversy. But it's also deeply, unmistakably him. Because Charles has always believed that the monarchy's power lies not in dominance, but in dialogue, not in exclusion, but in empathy. And while the tabloids rage about Andrew and the public debates whether the monarchy still matters, Charles will be doing what he's always done best, quietly trying to make sense of chaos through faith. Whether history remembers it as divine diplomacy or a desperate distraction, well, that's between the king, the Pope, and, perhaps, God himself.